Prime Minister, Amor, Mottley, honorable ministers and senior officials, members of the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I want to take this opportunity to once again welcome the Prime Minister and her entire delegation to Rwanda. The Prime Minister and I have had very fruitful discussions and witnessed the signing of 2 agreements in the areas of sports and bilateral air services. I have no doubt that the visit of the Prime Minister and her delegation will add to the already strong partnership we share across a range of sectors. Our relationship, nevertheless, runs deeper than this. We are both small countries, but with a big vision to elevate the standard and quality of life of our people working with other countries in our regions. The pandemic reminded us that the economic prosperity means nothing without putting health at the center. And so one area where we have found we are able to cooperate productively is pharmaceutical manufacturing. This is a complex industry, but it is indeed possible for countries like ours to be part of it, thanks to new technologies and partners. The important thing is to share knowledge and cooperate with partners, and we intend to do just that. We are also sharing experiences on creating digital and technology-enabled jobs for our young people and adapting to climate change. We launched the sport of road tennis in Rwanda, which I had the opportunity to test myself when I visited Barbados. I think I did well, just for the first time, we did fine. This is an exciting game that originates in Barbados. I'm confident that this visit is only the beginning of a long-lasting and impactful partnership. Once again, Prime Minister, my sister, welcome to Rwanda. I hope that you and your delegation will enjoy your stay with us, and that this will be the first of many visits, just like last April when I was visiting your country. I was serious when I promised I would be back. So, Prime Minister, you may take the floor.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Your Excellency, President Kagame. First of all, let me thank you on behalf of my delegation for the exceptional hospitality and courtesies that have been extended to us by your ministers, your people at all levels. It is my distinct pleasure to be here in Rwanda with you today. You know, we remarked earlier that our relationship has really started from April of this year. And as I indicated to you, it has been a sprint, like Usain Bolt sprint, but we want it now to be a marathon, as the East Africans are known for. And therefore, we will transition. And why do I say so? I think you indicated that we are 2 small countries with big visions, and we have to be in today's world. Our people are going to be only available to access the best as long as we can navigate the very difficult geopolitical and uncertain times in which we live. And that means us being able to find the unique opportunities for partnership and cooperation. This issue of pharmaceutical equity is a game changer for us all. It is a game changer for you in Rwanda, and you have led the way, and we believe that we too can follow in this respect. I make the point all the time that we have over 6,000 students that have graduated in sciences from the University of the West Indies at Cave Hill in Barbados in the last 5 years. And while teaching is one of the most noble of professions, it ought not to be the only profession that our graduates can go into having completed a science degree. This is going to open up the opportunities tremendously. In addition to that, there are serious issues with respect to women's reproductive health care that we have now to address. It is a popular topic in the Americas, as we all know, but it is one that, as a woman Prime Minister, I insist that a woman ought to be able to have access to autonomy over her body, and that if we can manage an economy, we must be able to manage our bodies too. And this step in cooperation with you allows us to be able to walk that path. In addition to the pharmaceutical equity, we are also working, as you have indicated, having signed a bilateral air services agreement to see how we can reverse centuries of time. We have had, regrettably, only the direct passage between Africa and the Caribbean for nefarious purposes in the past. It is now time that we do it for our own honorable purposes and to expand the opportunities for our people. You have an excellent platform here, and you are clearly the hub in East Africa, and with the construction of your airport, I expect that to significantly expand such that the Caribbean and Latin America can benefit with the linkages to Rwanda as we go forward. I hope that even before the airport is completed, however, that we can see that direct air link between our two regions. In addition to that, we have discussed the opportunities for business innovation and tech accelerators, and I will leave these matters to the young people who handle this much better than we do. Suffice it to say that our duty is to provide the framework. I'm happy that both of us sit on the Broadband Commission of the United Nations, and therefore it is something for which we are dedicated, because we accept that technology removes geography and removes history, and really is a leveler to allow our people to be the best that they can be and to achieve things that hitherto they may not have been able to achieve in the Industrial Revolution. I also want to thank our people from Barbados for sharing the road tennis game. We feel that with Rwanda as a partner, the two of us can take road tennis global, and with your history of being an expert in innovation, we feel that that partnership can happen. And let me say to those of you who are listening, road tennis is the perfect game for where there is high population density, because you need a very small space, probably like that beige inlay there. And it allows for excellent exercise, and it allows for persons with minimal outlay in terms of equipment. And it therefore means that the ordinary person who may not have the ability to play lawn tennis or to play sports that require greater outlay of money can literally keep themselves fit with this game, and that is how it was developed in Barbados. I'm also aware of your love for cricket, and simply say that in addition to the excellent work you've done with the African Basketball League, and I see Mr. Fulawe here with us. He's our honorary consul in Lagos, and I'm happy he could join us. But in addition to that, we want to be able ultimately to see a T20 league for cricket, and we believe that with Rwanda, Kenya, and a few other countries, it is not outside of our capacity, and Ghana as well. Last time I was in Accra, we looked out through the hotel room and we saw men playing cricket. So we really believe that the possibility for an African T20 is within our reach, and I hope that Rwanda can play a great part in that, and Barbados can help Rwanda reach the top of that league as we've reached the top of global cricket in the past. We've just both come from Sharm el-Sheikh, and where we have been dealing with what really is the great crisis of our moment, the climate crisis, and we will continue to work together to see how best we can ensure that the greening that's necessary to allow our countries to have a sustainable way of life for our people can happen, while at the same time recognizing that the road to net zero is not simple. It's not a vanilla recipe. It's a very complex one, but regardless of how complex it is the only road we can take if we are to sustain human life on this planet in the long run. And I believe that the ability for us to cooperate also on the reform of the international financial architecture, which will help countries like ourselves better benefit, is what is ahead of us. So with those few remarks, I look forward, my brother, to welcoming you and others from Rwanda again in Barbados. We believe that this partnership, as I said, will not just be the sprint that we've seen, but the long distance run that is necessary, so that many years from now, others will recall that this moment happened to bridge the gap of history and to remove the middleman, the middle leg, and indeed the scars of the middle passage. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. We'll now begin with questions from media. Please raise your hand if you have a question. Isabel?
My question goes to both the Prime Minister and the President of Rwanda. On November 8th, you joined your counterparts and you were launching the Global Pharmaceuticals Cooperation Initiative. You touched that earlier. But if you could shed more light on the framework cooperation, how that is going to work, and also how you envision it changing the landscape of manufacturing of vaccines.
Thank you. First of all, we could not do this without the cooperation of Rwanda. Indeed, the advanced work that the Rwandans have done with respect to regulatory framework for pharmaceuticals is what we will be working with to establish our own regulatory framework in Barbados. I think that it is fair to say that that is the critical component in unlocking the business case for pharmaceutical manufacturing. And it's not an easy process. It's a very complex process. And I'm happy that your president has been willing to share that process with us and to allow us to do for the Caribbean and Latin America what he is here doing for Africa. I don't think I need to remind you of what we went through with the vaccine apartheid during the COVID pandemic. But it is not only vaccines that we're looking at. It is the mRNA technology that will allow us also to deal with oncology. Cancer is one of the biggest killers in our world today, and regrettably, many of the modern drugs that the North Atlantic countries have access to, our people do not have access to. We want to change that. Similarly, as I mentioned, the women's reproductive health care issues, those are things that we need to be able to have greater control over. So all in all, your ability to work with, and in fact, the head of the Rwandan Drug Administration Agency has already been in Barbados. So I'm not talking about something prospective. I'm talking about work that is very much in the process of happening. So we're very confident and happy with where we're going on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question from TNT.
Ashimwe, I'm with the New Time. Mine goes to both leaders, Your Excellency and the Right Honorable. I'm very much curious to know your hopes, especially looking at this visit, your hopes for relations between African Union and the Caribbean Community Market.
I think that we believe that the CARICOM, Caribbean Community, is really the sixth region of the African Union. Our histories are intertwined. Our geography is separated simply by the Atlantic Ocean. And in fact, if you look at distance, it is closer to get from Dakar to Barbados than it is to go from Barbados to London. And that should tell you every reason why we need to ensure that the continent of Africa and the region of the Caribbean remain united. We have also been the victims of a colonial experience, and therefore many of the challenges that we face with respect to development are common. There was no settlement on the time of independence for any of us, and we've therefore had to deal with providing for our people in terms of education, health, housing, by building out our own development. And we believe that it is important that we can share experiences and that we can create opportunities for investment for our own people, rather than believing that all investment must come from the North. So I look forward to the African Union and the Caribbean community deepening its cooperation. This afternoon, I think we will open the honorary consulate of Rwanda. That is the first step. I hope that in the future, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, who's accompanied me, will put pressure on me as Minister of Finance to do otherwise. And I look forward to that pressure in the near future. But suffice it to say that the fact that we are two countries who perhaps play a bigger role in each of our regions will also admit of us being able to make that movement between CARICOM and the African Union a greater reality sooner rather than later.
Yeah, sure. I think building on what the Prime Minister said about Caribbean being maybe another region part of our continent or together. What we have said all along and have agreed and are trying to do, we've reached a very important first step. The first step is to have this close relationship, starting with Rwanda and Barbados, and build from there through such a cooperation that we have outlined already, whether it is through farmer manufacturing or building air bridge between Rwanda, Africa, and the Caribbean, and with Barbados. Those are very important steps. We need to make more steps, and we want to do that faster. I think in the end, things are shaping up to bring both sides together. So I have no doubt that with the leadership we have in the two of us and our other colleagues in our regions, we should be able to make this work and work the right way and fastest as possible.
We'll take one last question from Edmund.
Thank you very much, Your Excellencies. My name is Edmund Kajire. I work for Katy Press. My question goes to both of you. On many occasions, both of you talk about small countries playing a key role in the New World Order, especially after the COVID-19 pandemic. And I would like you to elaborate a bit more on the role small countries can play in the changing of the world order. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think the first thing is that small countries feel people, see people, and hear people. And we bring a humanizing impact on almost every perspective that we have. We don't have the luxury of not seeing people or feeling people. And that is why in many instances you will see that the perspective we take, whether it is in climate, whether it is in financial reform, whether it is in whatever aspect of international relations, it is about propelling our people to a next stage of development. Regrettably, as I said, we face the consequences of colonialism in the same way. We face the aspects of climate the same way. We face the aspects of chronic non-communicable diseases in our part of the world, more so perhaps than even here. There are a number of things that have literally bedeviled us. But because we have a humanistic approach to these issues, we are in a position to deal with it. Then, of course, there is our nimbleness. Smallness provides for agility and nimbleness in a way that large countries don't. I'm watching the results of the United States of America elections unfold in the last 2 days. And I remark at how patent it is that, and many of their officials will admit to you, the need for constitutional reform, the need for fundamental changes in how they function. But because of the monolithic structure of their government, they're not in a position to respond effectively and to do the things that will make a difference to ordinary people's lives. So I think that in this new world, technology has not only removed the importance of geography being as critical as it used to be, but it also has removed the constraints of size, and we see it in our own lives every day because of the democratization that takes place as a result of technology and that empowers individual people. Individual small countries are similarly empowered. And when there is solidarity, as we are seeking to do now, then it's even better because it means that we can do so much more together. Thank you.
Well, I think you are very well elaborated by the Prime Minister, but small here refers just to geography and maybe populations, geographically small entities as Barbados or Rwanda, and small populations compared to some other big countries. But in any case, we are part of the global ecosystem. And one thing we sure have is have the brain, we think. And we think big for that matter. We are not impaired by geography. And we think together with others. So we seek to make the impact using the thoughts that we bring on the table and the voice. We speak out, we are able to speak. We can raise issues as they need to be raised and maybe understood as they should be understood. On that one, there is no smallness here. So this is how, and when we act together, even as small countries, as we started saying, we become much bigger. And the ideas, therefore, have impact. And this is what we seek to continue to do. In our positions, we understand what it means to be at the high table, and we are there, and we don't shy away from making sense, departing from that. Most important thing is for like minds, for people bringing together their efforts, their thinking, and their actions to bear on the many challenges that there are in this world that we all seem to be conscious of. What is also interesting and reminded by the pandemic, and there will be many other things, we find that we are reminded we are at one point or another that we are equal. When you saw this COVID-19, when it struck, we looked for big countries. There was no issue about small or big in any sense. Everyone was affected equally. And therefore, it would only make sense to act together to deal with these common challenges. When it comes to climate change, it affects everybody, every country, irrespective of its size, whether it is the geographical size or the populations. Therefore, that's not a bad reminder that after all, there is no small or big. We are in it together, and we can all be productive in what we undertake to do. So that's all I can say.
Thank you, Your Excellencies. Thank you very much for your time. This marks the end of the press conference. Your Excellency, Prime Minister, we wish you a very enjoyable rest of the stay and hope you and your delegation will be back many more times. Thank you.
Thank you, and
Thank
I only
you.
want to invite everyone who can hear my voice to Barbados.
Yes.
You will enjoy it.
I'm sure they are on the way.
Thank you.